Friggin'. I know it's under here somewhere. Ugh. Hey Glue Troopers, Max and Max's Models here, and today I got some building done. Made a lot of progress on the AFV 1/35th scale M38A1 Jeep. Now, the build report on this, I'm almost done with it. Just a few things left to do. The build report is that it really is an excellent, almost ridiculously detailed kit. If you're just going to put this on a diorama and not going to have the hood up or anything, then building the engine and everything is just an exercise in advanced model building. But it is unbelievably detailed. Ironically, I'm gluing the hood down, but I just built the engine to see if I could. And I did. And I only had one or two parts left over that I must have missed on the instruction sheet. But they were little and I'm sure not terribly important, and you're not going to see them anyway. So, but there are a few things to this kit. First off, today was the day where I kept losing stuff. I think I lost 5 parts and spent an hour out of my day looking for them. And I found them all. One of them was an entire sprue that had the windshield frame on it, and I'd left it in the paint booth. So I'll give you the quick build story on it. I got the hood fit, mated to it and everything, and unfortunately, when I glued the hood down, I was using the really thin glue, which of course spreads out, and I was holding a little pressure with my thumb, which is a dangerous thing to do on a kit like this because there's so many tiny fragile parts. It's hard to hold pressure on some parts. The only part that I wasn't able to fit well was the front grille and the hood. They just, and I guess this goes back, maybe I had something just a micron out of place, but the tolerances are so tight on this that everything's not perfectly snug, then something's not going to fit. It's just so tiny. And when I tried to push the grill back a little bit, I cracked about 3 of the bars in the grill. Fortunately, they didn't pop out. I was snapped them back in place. You can sort of see they're a little out of alignment. My attitude is, it's had an accident. It's a Jeep. And when I was mounting the seats, I accidentally, grabbing the bottom of the thing, I accidentally knocked part of the transmission out. And it's huge fragile. But that being said, overall, everything fits pretty well. The seats were, the 2 front seats were surprisingly tricky to fit. They don't actually have alignment pins. The wheels, by the way, there's separate front wheels and rear wheels. They have different hubs on them. And, of course, there's a specific one for the spare tire. That's the different hubs, and that was all that was on that. But as I got everything together, and I got everything on it, except for the 1 or 2 engine parts I mentioned. But I managed to get a big, nasty thumbprint on the hood, so I had to sand it down, prime it with some acrylic, and of course the green was the wrong shade, so back to the paint booth. The only thing I have to do now, I've got it all together, is the only thing left is to dull coat it. I've decided to put it in USMC markings because I used to watch Gomer Pyle, and for those who remember, Sergeant Carter used to run around in one of these every so often. So I thought, in the honor of Sergeant Carter, Sergeant Carter, I'll make it a Marine Corps Jeep. Plus, there's only 4 decals for the Marine Corps Jeep, the USMC and the number on each side. It does come with a full set of all the decal. Well, there's also the decal inside on the instrument cluster. That's one decal that goes on the glove box. Very easy to put in place. I put it in before I mounted the dash. But this is going to look fine when it's done. I use the mark fit on the decals. In fact, probably when I'm done with this recording, I'll go out and dull coat it before I put the windshield on, which is assembled. It just has to be glued on. Possibly, if I can get my juice. You know what? I'm going to take a quick break and go do that now so I can show you some pictures of the finished Jeep, because I used a marker on the wheels, a paint marker, which made it very easy to do the wheels without getting any bleed over. And then I followed that up with a black paint, but they're sort of a semi-gloss and it should have a flat finish. So let me go and come back. Well, okay, I'm back. That's drying, and hopefully we'll have some pictures for you shortly. The other thing I did was played around with that Panther. I had, this is just one of those things that you just don't think about. I had put a little more of the putty on there so I could re-etch the Zimmer mitt, but I waited too long, so it had gotten really hard and dry. So when I etched it, I still had trouble, but I went ahead and just primed it. Good enough. It's going to go on the shelf. That's what happens when you use slave labor. But although I thought I'd cleaned up, some of the little flakes from the Zimmer mitt, the white putty, had gotten on the desk, and when I was working with my black painted wheels, those little white specks stuck to it. So like someone had sprinkled salt on it. I mean, man, I couldn't have timed that worse if I tried. Great time to have white dust byproduct remaining on the table. Good move, Max. And one of them, of course, drops and goes Murphy's Law under all the way up against the wall. Gets hair all over the wet paint. So I decided to tape them down to finish painting them. But anyway, the joys, trials, tribulations. If I was out on the Tarbis today doing some painting and stuff, but it's just one of those things. After a while, you just kind of laugh on it. I was talking with Steve's Model Mania on the phone when I dropped it, and he got to hear the little blue cloud I left floating over the office.
In the heat of battle, my father wove a tapestry of obscenity that, as far as we know, is still hanging in space over Lake Michigan.
Let's just say that the kid's dad in A Christmas Story would have been proud. But overall, now that it's done, I will tell you this about the AFV Jeep. It's an excellent kit, unbelievably, almost ridiculously detailed. And you do have to be very careful about the fit because there's just no room for any misalignment. A few of the parts were a little hard to place. The instructions were okay. But an incredibly fantastic kit. And this one's going to be good enough. It looks good enough that I don't mind putting it on the shelf in the house. So, and at 135 scale, it doesn't eat up much space. And actually make a nice little companion piece for the SAS Jeep that I built, sort of then and now. And anywho, that was how the day went. And I have to admit, I'm kind of glad to be done with this because it was just so many tiny fine parts. But there's a little sense of pride when you're done. And anyway, that's what I did today. And I brought the universal carrier inside into the office so I can work in that in here. It's basically the finishing stuff now. The bulk of it's done. Then I'll probably take it back out to the Tarbis to detail it. But I run around chasing parts back and forth. The first thing that was missing today was the instruction sheet. And it turned out it was in the third drawer of my paint jar, which I probably put it someplace. I'd probably put it there without thinking about it. So I spent 20 minutes looking for that and finally just decided to build the Jeep without it. I figured I can figure it out from here. And then it just started bugging me. I kept checking the Tarbis, checking the office, and finally, there it is. And then where's the windshield frame? And find that in the paint booth. And then that was, where is the steering wheel? Oh yeah, I painted it. It's right there being held by an alligator clip. It was just blonde day. Absent-mindedness in the extreme. But I got everything done and it looks good. Guys, you take care of yourselves. And as always, model on.